Hey guys, this is Kristen with Mermaid Wax. Let's go over, can you mix hard waxes? Now, before I jump in, if any of y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to comment down below, like, subscribe. I love chatting with you all and I do answer each and every comment. So feel free to ask away if there's anything that you think I missed or any additional questions that you have, let me know. So, okay, can you mix hard waxes or any hair removal waxes for that matter? Is it going to alter or affect the performance of the wax? So this is a yes and no type question. This is really a like what works for me kind of situation. If it works for you, then great, go ahead and mix your hard waxes. However, if you're here because you're, want to know from like an expert, which I hate calling myself that, but if you want to know, what are the pros and cons of mixing waxes, then I'm going to explain why this is mostly a no with like an asterisk. However, let's first go over the reasons why mixing hard waxes, or a situation where mixing hard waxes is always going to be a yes, no matter what. So, when you are mixing hard waxes that are like the same formulation, the only difference is the colorant. So with Mermaid Wax, we have our formulations are called series. So we have for hard wax, the Pro Series, Signature Series, and Experimental Series. And each of those waxes within that series is the exact same formulation. The only difference is the colorant. So the color of the wax, but the base of each of those formulations, the base of Pro, the base of Signature, and Experimental are the same. So when you're mixing within that series, 100%, you can always mix those waxes and it's not going to affect or alter the performance of your wax, the texture of your wax, anything. So in that case, like I said, it's always going to be a yes. And why would you want to mix different colors, even if it's within the same series? Just because it's fun. It's fun to create your own colors. It's fun to create your own concoctions. It's just fun to create, to be creative. So even when you cross formulations, that can still be fun too. Now, this is where I must infer this might be a no for most of you. But now, for some, the entire point is to create a new custom wax, not just a custom color. So waxers who mix formulations tend to do so because for them, mixing their waxes will then create a texture that's perfect and perform the way that they need it to. So more times than I can count, I've seen, so many people that like to mix the Pro and the Signature Series for the pull of Pro Series and the elasticity of the Signature Series. And that's not for me, but hey, if it works for you, then go for it. At the end of the day, you're the boss and you need to do what works best for your studio, your clients, your environment, which kind of brings me to my next thing is that we're all in different environments and the way that a wax will perform is very different if you're in a hot, humid client or if you're in like a cool, dry climate. And there's also so many additional factors that can come into play with how a wax will perform. But essentially, you need to do what works best for you, and what works for me might not be the same for you. Now, why do I say no? Do not mix waxes. For someone who has created different formulations based on ingredients, and then also my own experiences, coupled with using other companies' waxes, I, of course, would be lying if I didn't say that the formulations that we created here at Mermaid Wax are just perfect on their own. But they're my babies, so of course I wouldn't have created them that way if I didn't think that they were perfect. But part of that's also because prior to Mermaid Wax, the only wax that I experienced, at least in great detail of excessive use, or even was aware of, was the rosin-based waxes. like the major one is the one at European Wax Center. So pretty much everyone, including myself, anyone who like worked there, loved their wax. It was so far superior than the other waxes that I had used in aesthetic school, which were just awful. But that wax, it's a rosin-based polymer blend, which is almost exactly the same as our Mermaid Wax Pro series. So it's basically also the same as every like major brand blue and pink film hard waxes. So there's actually very few waxes out there that are that aren't the same. I mean, sorry. So that formulation, it was made in the 1980s, and essentially it's just older technology. So again, I didn't even know anything that signature series or experimental series, you know, we made years later could be created until they were. And once we did, I fell in love with the elasticity of those waxes, which allowed me to lay 3, 4, 5 or more strips at a time without any fear of them breaking. And I can lay those strips really, really thin. So I was using less wax. I just completely fell in love, and then I never went back and used Pro Series. Even to this day, I don't use Pro Series. I only use Signature Series and Experimental Series. But that's just me. 50% of the people who buy Mermaid Wax love the Pro Series. And that's great. It just proves that we're all different and have different desires and needs when it comes to our waxes. So to get serious for a second, if you mix hard waxes that have completely different bases and formulations, ingredients, it can and will alter the performance of the wax. So for example, most hard waxes, especially polymer blend waxes, will have an ingredient called colophonium or rosin, which is a known allergen. It is not good for sensitive skin. It also, most of these waxes are not vegan friendly because they contain beeswax. So then there is the newest technology, which in hair removal wax, which are synthetic waxes like the Signature Series and then the Experimental Series. So these waxes don't contain colophonium or rosin. And they also don't have beeswax in them. So they are hypoallergenic and they are vegan friendly. So it's a much higher quality wax, and they're formulated for someone who has sensitive skin, but you can use them on anybody. I use them on anybody and everybody. So if you mix the Signature Series and or Experimental Series with the Pro Series, mixing these two waxes is going to make the overall wax not hypoallergenic or vegan friendly. So that's one of the reasons why I've never desired to mix them. But if you don't care about that, then go for it. Other than that, there's nothing wrong with it. So it's totally up to you, honestly. Like I said, I see people do it all the time and that looks great. And I even love the colors that they come out with because again, it's fun. But I've also even seen people who mix hard wax and soft wax together, which of course I definitely don't recommend. And didn't even think that this would be usable. However, I have heard of people who swear that it works fine. Don't ask me how. But I hope this helps clear things up. If anyone has any questions or anything, like I said, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.